is going to be, the title is Health Measles Outbreak Intensifies with 23 cases now reported. Please read the title and begin.
Health Measles Outbreak intensifies
Mm-hmm.
with 23 cases.
23 with 23 cases.
23 cases now reported.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Measles outbreak, and I didn't know what does it mean. Or
okay, measles outbreak. Measles is a contagious disease like the flu, or
okay.
And an outbreak is something that is spread.
Okay. And intensifies.
Intensifies. It means that it's very prominent. It's intensified, very visible, highly contagious, easily caught.
I got it.
Okay. And it does it very quickly. The outbreak, more people are getting the measles as reported by the health people.
Okay. Another 3 cases of measles were reported this week, bringing the total number of cases in Macau to 23 since the beginning of the year, an 8-fold increase compared to last year. The Health Bureau, the Health Bureau (SSM) announced in a statement that of the 3 new cases, 2 had contracted the disease from a patient who was the 5th imported case of the measles.
Of measles.
And that they are in solution at the Clinical Center of Public Health.
Okay, so here it is in isolation at the Clinical Center of Public Health.
Isolation is isolation at the clinic.
All right, let's take a look at this paragraph again. Another 3 cases of measles were reported this week, bringing the total number of cases in Macau to 23 since the beginning of the year, an 8-fold increase compared to last year. The Health Bureau, SSM, announced in a statement that of the 3 new cases, 2 had contracted the disease from a patient who was the 5th imported case of measles, and that they are in isolation at the Clinical Center of Public Health. What exactly is this paragraph telling us? What is this paragraph telling us?
It's telling that the number of patients increased in Bureau, and this year 2 another patient got the same disease from a patient 1.
Very good. All right, so let me see. The next, that is correct. The next paragraph.
Our recent case involved a 27-year-old woman working as a crowbar at the
at a casino
in Alarc, Macau, who had visited her relative at King W.O.U. Hospital on the afternoon of March 6.
Okay. One recent case involved a 47-year-old woman working as a croupier at a casino in Lark Macau, who had visited her relatives at King Kiang Wu Hospital on the afternoon of March 6th. So it seems that a person, this 47-year-old woman, she was fine one day and she went to visit a relative and she contracted the disease of measles. Okay. The third paragraph.
The second case was diagnosed in a 24 years old woman living in the SAR who had also gone to the outpatient clinic at King W.O. Hospital on the afternoon of March 6th, while the third case was detected in the local teenager aged 14 who is a student of Xinhou School Chinese section and returns to Zahia every day after classes.
Okay, go ahead and read the next paragraph as well.
In a separate statement, the SSM clarified that on evidence has been found that points to failure on the part of King Go Hospital or its health professionals.
Okay, so in paragraph 3, which is where the second case took place, what is it that they're telling us there? What is the significant thing in that paragraph?
The significant things that kind of the hospital, the OU hospital has a disease, and people who go to visit their relevant or their friends there get the disease.
And paragraph 4 in a separate statement. In a separate statement.
The idea is here it's clarified that the disease in the country or in the city.
Okay. Now, what are those vocabulary words? Do you remember the vocabulary words that we were studying yesterday? Perceived, what, telling. What are some of the other vocabulary words?
You know, casual. I didn't notice it. I just focused.
No, they're not in there. No, they're not in this lesson. You just would remember them from last time. They were perceived, tell, casual. Well, let's just work with those 3. Perceive, tell, casual.
Okay, let them just.
And in today's lesson, we're going to have the word intensified.
Yeah, I like this lesson.
Okay.
I need it actually because, I need the most vocabulary on it.
Right. So what we're going to do is just build our vocabulary as we go through. And in paragraph 1, we learned that measles are becoming very rampant. Rampant meaning intensified, spreading widely. I don't think rampant is in our vocabulary today, but rampant is the same as intensified, readily, speedily, moving quickly. So that is what outbreak means. Outbreak means to move quickly. All right. So in paragraph 1, we realized that the measles are perceived to be a problem in this area of Macau. And then in paragraph 2, a 47-year-old woman apparently was healthy until she went to visit a relative at the Kiang Wu Hospital. And in paragraph 3, there was a 24-year-old woman that lived in SAR. She also had gone to the Kiang Wu outpatient clinic, and she was noted as being the third or the second patient to have it. Now, we're not necessarily, now we don't know whether it was because she was at the hospital or she came to the hospital with the problem. And in paragraph 4, the hospital is saying the problem is not with the hospital, the problem is someplace else. They've already confirmed that the perception of the public, that the article is saying, no, the problem is not in the hospital. That perception is incorrect. This outbreak has started someplace else. Okay? Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
All right. What questions do you have about these 4 paragraphs before we go on?
No, I understand.
Okay, perfect. Read the next paragraph.
This comes after a physician working at the private hospital had recently treated a measles patient and then contracted the disease.
Okay, continue.
The Bureau noted that health professionals have complied with all the guidelines and standards. It should be emphasized that measles infection infection can be transmitted through air, as it is highly
infectious
disease. Sporadic cases occur where levels of infectivity are very high, and therefore infection of health professionals by the public is unavoidable, the SSM said as a statement.
Okay, so that word infectious.
Okay.
Can you repeat it? Infectious. And then occur.
Occur or occur? Occur.
Occur.
Okay.
Maybe we should look at sporadic as well. Sporadic.
Occur.
Oh, it comes before. Sporadic is before occur.
Yeah.
Sporadic.
Mm-hmm. Sporadic. What does it mean, sporadic?
Sporadic means not frequently.
Okay.
Not frequently. And infectivity. Can you pronounce that word?
Infectivity, yes.
Okay. And then we have unavoidable.
Unavoidable, I understand.
Okay. So here we have the physician that was working at this private hospital. So apparently the hospital is a private one. He had treated measles patients and then contracted the disease. Maybe the physician himself had contracted the disease. And it said that in the next paragraph that the professionals did comply with all the guidelines, so the hospital was not at fault. But measles is a highly infectious disease and it's transmitted in the air. So I can see how it could have infected people in a restaurant, in the grocery store, just any place. It could have occurred any place. All right.
Okay.
Now the paragraph 7, the Bureau said
that there are clinical reports listing at extent.
Wait a minute, let's start again. The Bureau said there are clinical reports listing the existence of cases of reinfection even after the effective vaccination in several areas of the world. Okay, start again, please.
The Bureau said that there are clinical reports listing the
Existence
of cases of reinfection even after effective vaccination in several areas of the world.
Okay, there's an S on areas of the world.
Yes.
Additionally,
on Tuesday, 6 further Hong Kong residents were reported to be infected with measles, bringing the number of cases in the neighboring region up to 26.
okay, so we can see that the numbers are quickly being reported and increased. So starting with paragraph 5, this comes after a physician working at the private hospital had recently treated a measles patient and then contracted the disease. The Bureau noted that health professionals have complied with all the guidelines and standards. It should be emphasized that measles infection can be transmitted through air, as it is a highly infectious disease. Sporadic cases occur where levels of infectivity are very high, and therefore infection of health professionals by the public is unavoidable, the SSM said in a statement. The Bureau said that there are clinical reports listing the existence of cases of reinfection even after effective vaccination in several areas of the world. Additionally, on Tuesday, 6 further Hong Kong residents were reported to be infected with measles, bringing the number of cases in the neighboring region up to 26. Okay. How do you receive these 3 paragraphs, 5, 6, 7? Can you quickly summarize all 3 paragraphs? Try to use some of the vocabulary: infectious, sporadic, occur, infectivity, existence. Try to use some of the vocabulary as you talk about this article.
Yeah, but first, I believe I have to memorize it first.
All right. Well, tell me.
I'm not aware of them, but
okay, which ones do you not know, so we can talk about them?
Even I know the meaning right now, but I cannot use it until I memorize.
Okay, so that's not exactly how I want you to learn by memorizing. You're going to learn them just by speaking about them. So even if you read the exact sentence, okay, then we can talk about them so you can tell me. So let's just go back to paragraph 5. And we're going to look at recently treated, all right? This comes after a physician working at the private hospital had recently treated a measles patient and then contracted the disease, all right?
Okay.
Okay, what did the physician contract? What did the physician contract?
The disease.
Okay, you would say the physician contracted the disease.
Physician contracted disease, yes.
Okay, this way it's reinforcing that you are understanding what you read. So the physician that contracted the disease, where did he work?
Work in the hospital.
Yes, but we want to use the word contracted so it becomes a part of what you know. The physician that contracted the disease worked at the hospital.
Okay. The physician that contracted the disease working in a private hospital.
Okay. And now looking at paragraph 6, we know that measles is an infectious disease. Can you name one infectious disease?
Rather than measles?
No, we're just the one that's in this article. You can say yes, measles is an infectious disease.
Yeah. Measles is an infectious disease.
What is the infectious disease that the physician contracted?
The physician disease that infection contracted is measles.
Very good. The infectious disease that the physician contracted is measles. Okay. The article also tells us that there are sporadic cases, and sporadic means not frequent. And the article says that these sporadic cases does occur. And what does sporadic mean?
Separate,
Not frequently.
not frequently, yes.
Right. So how often does a sporadic event occur? Not frequently.
Not frequently. Separated.
Separately. It's not so much that they're happening separately, but I do understand what you're saying. But they're not happening frequently.
Frequently, yes.
They don't happen frequently. And I think what you're saying, they just happen in different sections or different areas.
Okay.
Okay. And then in paragraph 7, we have the word existence. So the Bureau said
existence comes from exist.
That is correct. So that means available.
Yes.
So the Bureau said that there are clinical report listings listing the existence of cases, listing or showing evidence of something is available, that they are aware, reports are available. Now, after going over these words the way we just did, can you tell me about paragraph 5, 6, and 7? We know that a physician contracted the disease, this infectious disease, and there are some cases that are sporadic. Okay? Can you tell me about these 3 paragraphs?
Yes, the physician
Contracted
contracted the disease, was working in a private hospital, and the disease doesn't happen frequently.
Okay. And it doesn't say that it doesn't happen frequently. It's just saying that there are sporadic cases.
Yeah, sporadic cases occur. Where level of inactivity are very high, and it's what we said here, and the disease is extensive
existence. There are reports in existence. So now let's look at these words this way. If we were in a court of law, and we wanted to say that there was violence in a particular state, okay? There's violence in the state of North Carolina. The argument could be, but it's sporadic. It's not just in one, it's not in all of North Carolina. It's in different cities. So that makes it sporadic. It's not everywhere, unless we look.
But it's there.
But it is there. So it becomes like an infectious disease in a particular area, similar to the measles. There's an outbreak of violence. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we want to be able to use the vocabulary words not just in the article that we read, but have an understanding of the words so that we can use them in a different situation. Okay?
Outbreak, it's separate.
Outbreak means it's something that has just happened, like an outbreak of measles or the flu. During the flu season, there's an outbreak of flu.
Yeah, the flu virus separate in the air.
Yes, it's in the air. Are you asking me if outbreak is one word or 2 words? I'm not sure what your question is.
One word.
It is one word, yes.
As one word.
Yes, I think
In the air, maybe.
yeah, it's in the air too. Not too long ago, there was that swine flu. Remember the swine flu that was prevalent?
Yes, oh, yes, I know.
Okay, so that was an infectious disease,
Okay.
and there were sporadic cases reported because it wasn't reported in the state of North Carolina. It wasn't reported in, I don't know, New York, but it may have been reported in many areas of Africa. In that case, it became more centralized. It was an outbreak in some parts of Africa, but it was not an outbreak in the United States.
Okay.
All right. We'll go on and continue to the next paragraph. Okay, read the next paragraph.
9 of the yes.
9 of the Hong Kong.
9 of Hong Kong cases involved airport and airline personnel, of which one was a pilot who had recently visited Manila, Singapore, and Bangkok. Oh,
As cited
in a report issued by the South China Morning Post, a top disease expert has warned that Hong Kong could face a second wave of measles infections.
Okay, so 9 of the Hong Kong cases involved airport and airline personnel, of which one was a pilot who had recently visited Manila, Singapore, and Bangkok. As cited in a report issued by the South China Morning Post, a top disease expert has warned that Hong Kong could face a second wave of measles infections. What is this article talking about now?
The disease, not just the disease, maybe will be in Manila, Singapore, but because the pilot had the measles disease and he visited those 3 countries, different countries.
So the pilot now may be a carrier of the disease because he's traveling from one place to another. So now it's leaving the original area because the pilot has it and he's flying to a different city. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And this word cited, what does it mean? The word cited. What is the definition of cited?
Cited in a report means the idea or worry about.
Means to be reported. Cited means reported.
Okay.
Okay. Or stated. Okay. And the word warned. Like
warning, like warning.
Yeah, it's a caution. Warn means to take caution. Take precaution.
Take caution means take care?
Yes, to take care. Be careful.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Then paragraph 10.
Meanwhile, the Philippines is in the midst of a measles epidemic. More than 21,000 cases have been recorded this year, and 315 people have died, according to the media reports. Oh.
Okay, the last paragraph. Last week,
the director of Macau's Disease Prevention and Control Center, Lam Kong,
Mhm.
argued employers
Urged.
urged employers of non-resident workers, especially workers from the Philippines and Vietnam, to vaccinate such works against measles.
Such workers.
Such workers against measles.
Okay. So, meanwhile, the Philippines is in the midst of a measles epidemic. More than 21,000 cases have been recorded this year, and 315 people have died, according to media reports. Last week, the director of Macau's Disease Prevention and Control Center, Lam Chong, urged employers of non-resident workers, especially workers from the Philippines and Vietnam, to vaccinate such workers against measles. So we have the word epidemic. What does epidemic mean?
Is it in the last paragraph, correct?
In paragraph 10, in the first line of paragraph 10. Meanwhile, the Philippines is in the midst of a measles epidemic.
Means got the disease?
Well, epidemic means outbreak.
Okay, outbreak. Yeah.
Outbreak. So epidemic means outbreak. So what is the outbreak in the Philippines now? What is the outbreak?
The disease is in the air everywhere. Spread.
Right. Well, the outbreak is the measles. Okay.
Yes.
And then in the paragraph below that, prevention. What does the word prevention actually mean? Prevention.
To protect or to stop.
Very good. To stop. To eradicate, or to stop. Urged.
Encourage.
Very good. Encourage. And vaccinate.
To take the vaccine.
To take the vaccine. And what is a vaccine? Is it medicine?
It's a medicine, the injection of that take it to protect the body from the disease or to
Very good. Okay, so or we could even say it would be to take the medicine. Okay. All right, so that takes care of those paragraphs. Now can you summarize those paragraphs for me?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Summarize those for me. What you just read.
About okay. Imperial. They found this year 3 people with measles disease.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were visiting KU hospital, and another guy didn't go to the hospital, the same hospital. Mm-hmm. The official report found that the disease is not coming from the hospital, KU hospital. It's in the country.
Mm-hmm.
In Hong Kong country, they found a guy has the same disease.
Mm-hmm. Good.
The reporter found that the guy used to visit Peru, and a pilot from Hong Kong
mm-hmm.
has the disease. The reporter found that he visited Philippines, Bangkok, and another third country. And Filipino, the number of disease increased to 21,000,
mm-hmm.
and more than 300 died. from the reported disease, or the um, the physician reporter encouraged people to vaccinate against measles disease.
Okay. Okay, very good. So in the last paragraph, what we learned is that a pilot may very well be responsible for spreading some of that disease because he's traveled from one place to another. Then we find that in the Philippines that there is an outbreak and more than 21,000 cases were reported with more than 315 people dying. And finally, that the director of the cow's disease prevention recommended that employers have their employees or non-resident workers vaccinated against measles. All right, that takes us to the end of the article. It was a...
I have a suggestion, please.
Yes.
If you don't mind, if you give me the article that we are going to read next lesson.
Okay, and I would make a suggestion also, because this is the thing, I don't necessarily know when students are going to cancel a lesson or for whatever reason. You can find a lesson that you have already read, and then what I tell everyone, always try to take responsibility for your own learning. That way, whatever person you speak with, they will have the lesson and you will know what you're going to read. But yeah, that makes sense. And if you have to ask me, just ask me to send you a lesson. Just ask me to send it to you.
Yes.
Okay? So that should work perfectly.
Yeah, if you send it to me, then read it.
Mm-hmm.
To the next lesson. In the third lesson, ask me again.